Hello again, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of The Experience Maker. My name is Dan Gingiss, customer service speaker and consultant, customer experience speaker and consultant. I got confused because of my guest today, who is one of the customer service, customer experience legends in the business, and I'm so excited to invite him here on the show today. Shep Hyken, how you doing today, man?
Hey man, I am doing so good, and we look a lot alike. If
My
so,
brother from
Dan's
another
the one with
mother.
the headset.
Yes, my brother from another mother, as we're often referred to when we're walking in public together. So, Shep, I'm pretty sure that everybody knows who Shep Hyken is, but give me a little bit of your resume for our audience.
Sure, gosh, I've been doing this for more than 3 decades, and I know I look very young, but bald guys look young because they don't show the gray hair. So I've been focused on customer service, and it kind of morphed into a customer experience when years ago somebody clever said, let's just call it customer experience. And then customer experience became much bigger than just customer service. And people often confuse the two, but service is inside of experience. Experience is everything that happens with a customer. And here I am today, buddies with Dan Gingiss, and still plowing away, just making a living, talking to people all over the world. We have a training company. We have trained people. My trainers go out and deliver content on how to deliver an amazing experience. And so that's the biz.
Well,
and I write books.
And you write a lot of books, including one of them right here, The Convenience Revolution,
I love
which is
that book.
your newest book. Yes. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this one?
Sure. The Convenience Revolution. Actually, it's not quite the newest book. The newest book actually isn't even out yet. It comes out next week, and it is The Cult of the Customer.
Wow.
But let's talk.
I expect my signed copy in the mail soon.
Believe it or not, it's honest. I just got my copies yesterday, and it comes out next Tuesday. You can go to Amazon and order it now. If you order it now and you let me know, I will send you the ebook immediately. All you got to do is email us at shep@hyken.com. And that way, I know this is blatant promotion. And here's the cool thing. Even if you didn't order it, just say you did. If you need it that bad, you need it.
No receipt required.
No, that's because I'm the customer service guy. But seriously, the Convenience Revolution came out about 1.5 years ago. I love that book. It's about, I think all things being equal. If you have a great product and great service, if you are more convenient than your competitor, you're going to win your business, win their business. The Cult of the Customer, which comes out next week, that book is an actual revision of a book I did about 12 years ago. Wrote it. All the stats are updated. There's nothing in it that's really old. There's a few stories that I felt, even if the companies, they're getting older and maybe they're not quite as relevant as companies, their stories were great. I got rid of, like I said, all the old stats, and I even got rid of the guy that is now in jail. I won't tell you who that is, but we had to get rid of him.
Probably a good idea, I would say. Follow
so
Shep's advice.
Out of the book.
Follow Shep's advice, and you too could end up in jail.
Hey, you're going to be in my next book. I bet you can't wait. Then let's see what happens.
Outstanding. So just going back to something, I have so many things I want to ask you, but just going back to something that you said about the difference between customer service and customer experience. I know one of our mutual friends has often said that customer service is what happens when customer experience fails, because you need to call and make it right. But I also want to run by you. I think we've spoken about this before, but one of my main theories is that the reason we shifted to talking about customer experience was actually our good old friend social media. And it was because customers got a voice for the first time, a public voice that they could talk to companies about. And with that voice, they said, we want a better experience than we're getting. They really kind of threw the gauntlet down to companies and said, this is unacceptable. And because it was public and companies could no longer hide behind terrible service and terrible experience, it became something that they had to focus on. And so I like to say, but for social media, we might not be talking as much as we are about customer experience. What do you say to that?
Well, I think we have to look at there's different definitions of customer service and experience. Is customer service what happens when the experience goes bad? I want to go, not always. Okay. And here's why. The customer service department is what happens when the experience goes bad. But customer service to me is a philosophy that's ingrained through an entire organization. The same thing with experience. When everybody who plays in that organization understands their role and what they do, and if you journey map even just the top line of where there's customer interaction, what happens behind the scenes. So at the top, where the top line is, every time the customer has an interaction, I call that a touch point. That makes sense. Behind the scenes are what I call impact points. And if you look behind the scenes, virtually every department of any company, and that means every employee of any company, is going to have a role in driving something that's happening further up line on that touch point. With that in mind, everybody has to be mindful of where they are in the service and experience role that they play. So the service department happens when experience goes bad. The service department happens when the service goes bad of any kind. If customer service is not just a department, but a philosophy, now we're on a cultural piece of it. Now, you asked me a question. I kind of, like a good politician, got away from the actual question. So do you remember what it was?
Yes, whether you buy the fact that social media has played a big role in customer experience becoming front and center.
Right. So I believe still the experience is everything the customer experiences. And that means if you buy a really, you buy like an iPhone. Here, I've got my iPhone right here. When I bought this, it came in a box. And I was at the Apple store, and I got great service at the Apple store, a knowledgeable rep who was able to help me get exactly what I wanted, much more expensive than I thought it would be. That's how good that guy was, right? Once he sold me, this box comes out, and I open up the box. This is a cool box. Well, that's part of the experience. But what social media has done to the experience and service is they've made it, really everybody can see what's going on. There's a voice that the customer has. Our good friend Jay Bear, we're both great friends with Jay. Jay says online customer service has become a spectator sport. So we can see, everybody can see, somebody's complaining about a company. Let's see how they handle it. When we go and look at reviews, there might be 50 reviews, and we might find 4 or 5 that are negative. And then we look at how the company handled it, how quickly they responded. You can watch it, as if it's a transcript. And you can say, you know what? I can see that they've got a 4.2 out of 5 stars, which, by the way, according to Northwestern University, not too far from where you live, there is a study that came out in the last couple of years that said if you've got perfect 5s across the board and you have, hundreds of reviews, something fishy is going on. I mean, maybe not, but people might be skeptical. They said 4.2 to 4.4 is like a sweet spot because it shows that, nobody's perfect. But when you're not perfect, you've got to show that you handle it. And that's where the key is. I think how quickly you respond, how you respond, you go offline, you fix the problem, you come back on, you thank the customer for letting you work with them. Ideally, the customer comes back and says, yeah, you're awesome, thanks. And then it's all beautiful. But if nothing else, the rest of the world sees that you did respond. That's an experience they want to have. And that's an experience that's part of their review experience.
Yeah, I agree with you. In fact, when my book on Amazon got its first 3-star review, I cheered because everybody until then, had been 5 stars. And so I was like, all right, now I don't look so suspicious here. And so it was great. And of course I responded to that guy.
It wasn't me, by the way.
I know it wasn't. And I think you're absolutely right that the response is the critical piece. A, that you respond, and B, the way that you handle a situation when a customer is unhappy. The remarkable thing about it is it can often turn an unhappy customer into one of your most loyal customers because they need you the most at that moment. And if you're there for them, it very much can affect their opinion of you going forward. So I agree with everything you said there.
Well, thanks. And just by the way, to that point, if you resolve an issue the way it's supposed to be resolved, and I've got a 5-step process that starts with apologize and acknowledge. Those are the 2 first steps, and you can flip them around. Hey, I'm really sorry that happened. I'd be upset if that happened too. Let me tell you what we're going to do to fix it. You discuss the resolution. Number 4 is you don't say, hey, I wasn't even here last week when that happened. What are you yelling at me for? No, you take ownership, and even though it's not your problem, it's your opportunity. Number 5, if you act with urgency, and urgency, I think, is major in restoring the confidence. And I believe often that confidence is higher than if the problem had never taken place at all. By the way, that doesn't mean that you should go out and purposely create a problem so you can show how good you are at fixing them. That will backfire. But
Well,
true legitimate issues managed well in such a way that restores confidence, that's the key.
and the reality is, the expression that we can't say on the air here, but sh blank blank happens. You don't have to go create a situation, because something's going to happen, right? In almost every business, something goes wrong. People make mistakes, systems fail, whatever it is, and really no business is immune to that. So certainly you don't need to go create them. It's just being prepared for them and then being responsive when they happen. So on this program, I do not have any script. I do not send any questions to the interviewees ahead of time. So Shep does not know what's coming here. But Shep, I wanted to talk to you specifically about what is probably one of the most serious issues that everybody is thinking about right now, and that's the coronavirus, COVID-19. And I want to talk about it. I mean, obviously, you and I are both speakers, and it's affected our industry quite a bit because events are being canceled, et cetera. But I really want to talk about it instead from the perspective of your small business, your medium-sized business. How do we communicate with customers? How do we behave similarly or differently because of what's going on? I know that a lot of companies are struggling with this right now, and I figured who better to ask than Shep Hyken on what should we do in a situation like this that frankly is a scary situation, but also one that most of us have never experienced before, so there's no playbook for it.
There is no playbook. The economy didn't start to slow down. It hit a brick wall, is what it did. And what happened is this disease. And by the way, I don't know how to state how important it is that we just recognize the severity of what this is. I mean, we can try to do business the way we want to do business. We can try and be upbeat, and we should be. And we should do the best that we can, but don't forget how serious this is. So I say this, I just released a short video about basically the question that you asked, recognizing that the first and foremost important thing is health. Beyond that, what can we do to give our customers confidence? And I think the word confidence is most important, because what we want to show them is we're coming from a position of strength, not of fear. So in my business, in your business, as a speaker, just a few days ago, we sent an email out to all of our clients saying, unless the government says something that would make us not be able to do what it is that we do, I plan to be at your meeting. I recognize you may be making other plans, but just know that I'm not the guy you have to worry about. So that's the first thing I did, is to try to create confidence. Every single client emailed me back thanking me for that statement. Number two, I recognized, and I made it clear in their statement, I will support whatever decision you make and work with you to make sure that your people are healthy, they're safe. And if you choose to postpone this to another time, I am happy to be on board and be part of that team. And so I look at that as like, I've got to practice what I preach. By the way, I kind of wish I wasn't at this point the customer service speaker. If I was the leadership speaker or the sales speaker, I would say, just pay me the money, you cancel the event. But no, I'm the customer service guy. I've got to be nice. And you do too, Dan. So, but here's the point I'm trying to make. This is a mistake that companies will make because their business will start to suffer. People won't be spending money. Some employees might even be calling in sick. The key is to do something, if you're going to cut, that does not impact the customer experience. There's plenty of things behind the scenes that you can do to change. But here's what I'm thinking. Let's just take a very general retail example. If I'm used to going into a store, and then today I go into that store and I notice, where are all the employees? Well, we sent them home. And I've got to wait in line for 30 minutes to buy whatever it is I'm buying because you sent your people home. There is a mistake, because guess what? I'm not coming back for a while. I'm going to go see if your competitor has a shorter line. Now, that's just an oversimplification. But what happens is so many companies cut in areas that are visible by the customer, and we need to minimize that. So what can we do to be creative? If we have to cut, we have to tighten up. That's the way we have to do it, is behind the scenes. Make sense?
Yeah, it does. And we're going to continue this conversation. I just want to let you know, first of all, to those that are watching, you can ask a question to Shep as well. Just leave a comment and I'll be reviewing them and happy to ask you your question. Shep, Ryan Foland.
Hey, Ryan.
first said that he needed to get a copy of your book, then said that he just did, and then posted the link for easy reference so others can do it. So,
I
hey,
love that, Ryan.
that is
Thank
awesome.
you.
So good job, Ryan. Appreciate everybody who's watching. And again, if you have a question for Shep Hyken, just put it in the comments, and I will definitely get to it before our half hour is up.
Uh-oh, you went still on me here. The internet signal is playing games with us. Can you hear me or see me? Hmm. There you go. You're back.
Hey. Well, I hope you kept the audience entertained while I was gone.
I didn't know if it was you or me.
No, it was me. My apologies. We're having some internet problems here at the house today. In any event, there's two different constituencies, and this is true in times of peace and normalcy as well. But I think it's becoming a hotter topic right now. The two constituencies are employees and customers. And you mentioned recently, well, hey, you may take care of your employees at the expense of your customers. But the truth is that we have to look at both of them. One of the conversations I had today with a consulting client was that, we're worried that employees are worried about traveling and doing things. And so they want their company to be strong and say, okay, no travel, right? But that may not be practical. It may not be good for the business, et cetera. So as you're saying, we're prioritizing health. We have two different constituencies that may or may not be aligned. How do you suggest that management around different size companies take a look?
Sure. I mean, if you're in a large environment, I think people need to be selfless, okay, the opposite of selfish, and recognize if I've got a cold, don't come to work, okay? I've got to be able to police myself and recognize that I could create harm to others if, in fact, I have the virus. Worse, that would be the worst case. Or I could just create fear for others. And it's very difficult. We have a very small company with just a few people that work here. But if one of them wasn't feeling good, I would suggest they stay home and they either take the day off as a sick day or work from home and try to put in the full day best that they can. Technology allows us to do some of that. We look at some of the larger companies, especially in the customer service world. A lot of people are working remote. The technology allows for that. As a matter of fact, they were working remote before this happened. Because that's just what they do. They hire people and they let them work from home, or they let them work in small offices in the various cities that they're in. So as far as travel goes, I think right now I'm a very comfortable person, but I'm a confident person. I'm also a very safe person in that I'm going to look out. If the guy sitting next to me is hacking away, I'm moving seats, okay? And if there are no seats to move to, I'm getting off the plane before it takes off, obviously. But I'm going to be.
I should hope so, Shep.
Yeah, I'm going to bring my Clorox wipes. I'm going to wipe down wherever I am. I'm just going to be cautious. I read a great article by a friend of mine, Bruce Turkel, Turkel. And if you want to look at his blog, he says, "Man, has the world changed? I actually am in the men's room and people are washing their hands." So, but we're doing other things that we didn't do before, or maybe we did, but we just are more aware of doing them. I always wash my hands, but you know what? I bet I wash my hands a little bit harder and stronger and take a few more, seconds or whatever than I used to do before, even though I did it before. I'm just more aware of it now. Those Clorox wipes that I thought, these people are over across the aisle from me. Well, they're just being a little anal. No, they're not. The first thing I do when I get to a hotel room is I'm going to wipe down the remote control because people are touching that. So I'm just going to become more aware. I'm going to try not to touch my face, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to hopefully encourage others to do the same. However, if you are fearful, and I totally get it, just recognize that you still have a role to play, and if that role means you're going to work remotely, you best show the team that you work with that you're just as good there as you are on site. And if you can do that, you'll instill the confidence in them to let you to continue to be offsite until this thing blows over. I do believe it's going to end. I'm an optimistic guy. It's got to end, right?
Yes,
The
and I'm with you. I'm an optimistic
Yeah.
guy too, and I agree with everything you said there. And I would add that one of the ways to instill confidence is to not panic. If
Right.
people see companies or employees panicking, then they're going to panic along with them. It's exactly what's happening in the stock market right now. Is everybody sees panic and then they go ahead and panic as well, and then the stock market continues to accelerate in the wrong direction. I just came back from 8 straight days of traveling, 3 different cities, and I saw kind of the same thing you did. First of all, I saw full planes, I saw full conference centers, full events, but I saw way more sanitizer stations. I saw a lot more hand washing going on in the bathroom. I used sanitizer after every hand I shook, and that's when I accidentally shook hands because I was trying not to shake hands. So I do think we're being a lot more careful, and I guess time will tell whether that was stupid for me to be in 3 events in
Mhm.
the last week or not. But I sort of feel the same way you do, that you want to be safe, you want to be careful, but over panicky doesn't help anybody. And especially if you are in a business and your customers are looking to you to be the solid leadership, kind of like we do to our government. And this is not a political show at all. But sometimes we look towards other people to kind of show us the way. And I think with a customer company relationship, oftentimes the customer is looking to the company for that comfort.
I agree, and I think without getting political, our president spoke last night, and I think I listened to both CNN and Fox afterwards, and heard both of them ripping apart and putting the president up on a pedestal. Regardless, I thought it was a very strong message. And when the CDC and the World Health Organization start to tell us this is what you should do, we need to listen. But what I'm not going to listen to is my friend that just is fearful and has an opinion that I'm just not going to do this. I don't want to take a chance. Well, that's fine. I respect your opinion. Quit trying to push it on me as hard as you're pushing it. I've heard you. And I think that's kind of a metaphor for a lot of what's going on. We can create a lot of fear in the people that we work with. If I came into my office, small or big company, as a leader, and I said, hey, everybody, I don't know about you, but I'm scared. We got to start cutting people. So I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know who's going next, but that's the first thing that's got, what is that going to say? And even better yet, you know what? I don't even know if I should be here. I don't even want a fist pump. Here's an elbow. I don't want to touch the elbow. I'm wearing, did you notice last week we were together in San Diego and there was a speaker, and I won't tell you her name, but she had gloves on the entire conference. Did you notice that?
I did not see this
Okay.
person, no.
And you know who she is. And I don't want to call her out. At first, I thought it was part of her outfit. And then I realized, no, it could have been, but you could see how it was working for her. And you know what? That's her way of coping with it. She was still able to come to the conference and do her job. And this was just her thing. I'm not going to touch your hands.
Yeah.
I totally get it. I totally understand it.
All right, so we do have a question from our live audience here. Another guy that you know pretty well, Ryan Baker. We got a lot of Ryans on the show today, but Ryan Baker says, "Hi, Shep. Great to see you. Love your books. I'm wondering if you can shed some thought on how you feel the airline industry is handling the coronavirus. I love that they are taking extra measures for cleaning, but wondering if this also creates a feeling of why does it take this to tell us about your cleaning?
You're reading my mind.
Do you think limiting refunds to just one time period feels right? And what do you think this situation will change in the way companies that host large groups in small areas do business and communicate?"
Right. Well, you're absolutely reading my mind, because I actually wrote an article. It'll be out this Sunday in my Forbes column. And I applaud the major airlines that are saying, we'll give you credit for your ticket. The next step would be, we'll give you a full refund for your ticket. And obviously I had 2 speeches canceled. One was in China and one was in South Korea. And I said, I don't want a credit. You don't even fly there anymore. And they said, okay, we'll give you your money back. But if you look at what Southwest has done, this is what they've been doing all along. Finally, everybody's doing what Southwest has been doing. I personally think it's a little too late for these major airlines. And I wonder what's going to happen as this dies down. Are we going to go back to the $200 change fees or even more in some cases? Or are we going to say, hey, this worked. Our customers, our passengers appreciate this. So first and foremost, I think the airlines are making it easy on the passenger, saying, hey, if you need to reschedule or cancel a flight, we're going to give you a credit for a year. But you know what I want you to think of, Mr. or Mrs. Airline executive, whoever is making this decision? What if this thing goes on for 2 or 3 more months? I think we need to be a little bit more flexible than just the year. And I believe the airlines will step up and do what's necessary. They can't afford not to. I think they need to make friends, not enemies during this time. And you know what? Maybe they're going to find a better way to do business as a result of this.
Yeah, I worry that things will go back. In fact, I just had an experience yesterday that I noticed, and I won't say which airline, where
What are their initials?
the the incoming flight was late, and you generally know, and if anyone that went to business school and took the business case course on or the business case on Southwest knows that it takes basically a half an hour is the fastest that companies can turn around a plane to clean it. Well, these people got off the plane, and 3 minutes later, we were boarding the plane. And I'm like, well, so much for the heavy cleaning that they're doing, right? So I didn't feel great about that. The other thing that has stuck out to me, and actually something I was thinking about writing about, was that I actually saw the emails that were sent from the CEOs of American, United, and Delta all together. And I have to say, they were almost identical. Like almost like they got together and decided, here's what we're going to say. And maybe they did, who knows? But that was surprising to me, because I do think that even in a time of crisis, your brand voice matters. And the way that you communicate should not change unless you're going to communicate more. But those were just 2 things that I noticed. We're going to go
I've got a theory on that second piece where they all got together. I don't think they got together. I think all of them independently realized this is probably the right thing to do. We probably should have been doing it all along. Look at our friends at Southwest; they have, and boy, every quarter, year after year after, I think other than maybe 1 quarter in their entire history, it's some crazy low infinite number like that, tiny number, but they've been profitable. Why? Because they're focused on the customer, not the money. I'm sure they're focused on the money. They've got shareholders. They have to be. But the focus on the customer seems to be right in alignment, if not even trumping the money.
Absolutely. It's in their mission statement. And I think, we're now about 10 years removed, 20 years removed, I think, actually. God, it's taken a long time. But, shortly after 9/11 is when a lot of these airlines started adding all these nuisance fees and the change fee and now you got to pay to redeem your miles fee. It's like, well, hold on a minute. I earned these miles and now you're going to make me pay to redeem them. These are horrible, horrible nuisance fees that to me are the result of the finance company running customer experience, or the finance department running customer experience. And trust me, the finance department and the legal department are the 2 departments you do not want running your customer experience unless you want to provide underwhelming experience.
Tweet that out.
I will.
That's exactly.
I'll tweet
tweetable.
That. All right. We're running a couple minutes late, but since we started a couple minutes late and I had some technical difficulties, I'm going to ask you one more question. This is a completely different curveball question. It is hard not to notice behind you all of the amazing sports paraphernalia. I know you're a huge sports fan. Sadly for me, you're a St. Louis fan and I'm a Chicago fan, but we're still friends. Tell me about your sports collection and maybe one of your favorite pieces.
Well, you're a bigger baseball fan from the Cubs standpoint. And by the way, when the Cubs were in the World Series, I was cheering for them. You know what? If you're going to lose, and we did lose to you that year, let's lose to the winner. Most of what you see behind me, there's some baseballs, but a bunch of hockey pucks. I play hockey several times a week. And most of those people on the shelf, everybody from Brett Hull to, there's lots of players that you would recognize that are in the Hall of Fame. I've had the honor to be able to play with them. I also see my guitars. Those are a couple of guitars. You should see what I have at home. I've got like a dozen of them hanging behind me in my man cave. But I play guitar. When everybody leaves the office, I play for about 15 minutes. My brain moves to another spot, and then I'm happy again. And I go back to work.
That is awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only customer service and experience expert and a great friend of mine and a mentor, Shep Hyken. You can find him pretty much everywhere at Hyken, Hyken. Is it shephyken.com or hyken.com?
Either way, you'll get there, hyken.com. We make it easy, shorter, more convenient.
All
as
right,
in that book that's right behind
and
you.
check out the Convenience Revolution and also the new one, The Cult of the Customer, coming out very shortly. I have read all of Shep's books to date, and I always learn something from them, learn a lot from them. So I
Thank you,
encourage you to
Dan.
do so as well. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of The Experience Maker. We'll see you next week for episode 7, 4 o'clock Eastern, next Thursday.